Wow! Coming out of nowhere with a spinning heel kick. Knockout.
This is Colin Crandall from iFluxy Studios bringing you the MMA Power Hour.
Against Wonderboy. I don't know why people
We'll be talking about everything MMA, recapping most recent fights, breaking down what happened, and especially going over the most exciting upcoming fights, looking at the matchups, breaking down analysis, even predictions, betting advice, all kinds of great things that we will be presenting to you here from super fans, knowledgeable people like myself who train and love MMA. So go to iFluxy.com and tune in for your weekly MMA action on the MMA Power Hour every Wednesday at 8.
It'll be good, but Tyron Woodley is a badass fighter. Anyone that doesn't think so, go ahead and tell him to his face, because I ain't going to be doing that for sure, and neither are you.
And welcome to the MMA Power Hour. Glad to be back with you. This is Colin Crandall, your host, and I'm really excited. We've got another great show and a series of great shows, but this really is going to be one that I think you'll enjoy. So let's jump on into it. Come on in, get ready for some fun. This first guest is really making some noise all over the USA. An MMA promoter, matchmaker, analyst, someone that you guys are going to be hearing more and more about as time goes by. So I really want to introduce you to him a little bit here so you know what he's about and will therefore be able to really understand where he's coming from and in his perspective. So Jason wrestled in Long Beach, California for Millikan High School under Hall of Fame coach Marshall Thompson. He was a CIF finalist in 1999 and later moved on to the Army after the September 11th attacks. While stationed in Europe, Jason was undefeated in freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling and had his hopes set on coming to and joining the Army wrestling team, but actually ended up getting deployed to Iraq during OIF-2, which essentially ended his wrestling career. However, after the Army, Jason moved to Memphis, Tennessee for a new job and became active again as an assistant wrestling coach at Germantown High School under Hall of Fame coach Tony Bradley, the winningest coach in the Tennessee Region 8 history. Jason ended up going to a VE3 fights show, sorry, a V3, not V3, a V3 fights show just as a fan. Ended up director of fight relations and color commentator for the really upcoming V3 Fights promotion. He is Mr. Jason Lederfine. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Hey, thanks, Colin, for having me. Really impressed with what you're doing for the MMA community, and really appreciate you having me on the show.
My pleasure, and I want to make sure I have it right because you're a guy that people are going to be hearing about. Lederfine or Lederfine?
Lederfine, sir.
I got it. So Jason Lederfine. Excellent. Well, Jason, my pleasure. Thank you for your support. We really love what you're doing all around the country with your direct promotion and your parent company. Why don't you let us know a little bit more first about the V3 fights and everything that's going on there?
Absolutely. So as you see on my shirt, I've got our V3 logo, and on the other side, I've got Alliance MMA.
Right.
Alliance came about a few months ago. What their plan was, mistake a lot of organizations made was they were going to compete with the UFC. They were going to compete with Bellator, and they couldn't. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the press. They just couldn't do it, and they failed.
Right.
So what Alliance MMA decided to do was, we're going to create a platform for these guys to get to Bellator, to the next level. So we're basically the NCAAs of mixed martial arts.
Nice.
What Alliance did was they went through and they decided to acquire regional promotions that had a lot of success, had a lot of following, and had some great fighters involved with it. And it started with CFFC out of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first acquisition. Then they went and got Koga Combat Games out of Washington, Fight Time Promotions in Florida, Hoosier Fight Team in Indiana, who kind of owns the Chicago market, Shogun Fights in Maryland, Iron Tiger Fight Series in Ohio, V3 Fights us here in Memphis, Tennessee, and actually today we just acquired another company, which is National Fighting Championships out of Georgia. They put on over 100 shows, so it's really exciting to have them part of what we do. So what we're doing is we're giving guys a huge so that they can showcase what they do, and our goal is not to keep them locked into a contract with us. Our goal is to get these guys to the next level, the highest level. So, Dana White's come to some of our shows. He signed guys right then and there.
Wow.
On the spot. And that's really what we want to do for these guys. We are trying to promote guys. But on the other side, we're also teaching guys how to handle being at the higher level. So what we do at our shows is, it looks just like a UFC show, the way we run it, from weigh-ins to media to everything. I do the interviews in the cage with these guys after the fight, just like they would get at a UFC or a Bellator.
Nice.
The reason we do it is so when they get to that level, they're used to it. They understand how things are supposed to run. They're not going to look like the new kid that doesn't know what's going on. They're going to realize that, hey, I've done this before. Every company that I work for in Alliance MMA did things just like the big show, and I'm used to it. And also what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to announce a major fight for our June 17th card that has not been announced yet. So I'll do that at the end of the show. It's an absolutely amazing show that we've got coming up June 17th in Memphis, Tennessee at Minglewood Hall. But I do have one fight that I'm going to announce tonight that has not been announced officially, but I'm going to do it tonight on your show.
Fantastic. Really appreciate that. And fans anywhere in the southern region, in Memphis, or anywhere around the country that can get out there or knows people out there, get ready to listen up, because this will be a news-breaking fight announcement here, and we really appreciate you doing that, Jason.
Absolutely. And some other great things that Alliance has done is we're kind of building a whole package for fighters. One of the complaints I get from fighters is, hey, I don't have time to sell tickets.
Right.
I want to be a part of it. I don't have time to do it. I'm training. I work. I don't have time to run across town and give guys tickets.
Yeah.
Got it. Fully understand. So we came up with a solution. We partnered and purchased a company called CageTix.com. What CageTix does is it's an online ticket platform. So what these guys can do is you can post on your social media, hey, go to CageTix.com, select B3 Fight 60, select my name, and buy your tickets online. You can buy them with a credit card, and they're waiting for you at will call. I still get credit for the ticket sale, but I didn't have to actually do anything.
Wow.
So it's a huge success. It's taken a lot of stress off these guys saying, you know what, this is easy. I just post on Facebook. I post on Twitter about CageTix, and people are buying tickets on there.
That's
so
excellent. And the fighter gets credit for the sales.
The fighter gets credit for the sales, so we can see how many tickets this guy's selling, how many people are coming to see this particular fighter. Another thing we have is GFL.TV, which is Go Fight Live. What it is an online live media streaming platform for these guys.
Oh.
So you can watch shows all throughout the country. We have guys coming from all over the country to our shows, and their family back at home can watch live on pay-per-view. I commentate on it with a two-time Emmy Award-winning color commentator, Greg Gaston, out of Memphis. So we've got the complete package for these guys. We've made it easy, and we're just really excited what Alliance is doing.
I love that. That really is sounds like it's cutting edge. Run that by us again, where people who are not in Memphis would be able to see this show. We're going to talk a little bit about G3 something. I didn't hear it clearly. Tell us that again.
GFL is our official online streaming, but we'll actually be streaming it directly from the v3fights.com page. It's a live feed. It'll be directly streamed off of our page. So we're really, really, really excited about that. We've had a lot of success with it. We're getting tons of buys from all over the country. People are tuning in and watching our fights. We're obviously not doing UFC numbers, but we're doing good numbers, and it's showing that people are excited about watching our fights. Yeah,
absolutely. And I've heard a lot of great things. I've heard a lot of the shows for V3 as well as Alliance shows around the country in different regions are quality shows, and there's some really good fights there, and they're professionally run, and the package looks sharp and professional, and that's not the case with every regional show out there. So, I definitely want to let people know you can see some great fights in Jason's organization V3 and the parent organization Alliance for sure. Speaking of which, let me ask you, Jason, everything you say sounds really great, and I know that we have some listeners that are amateur or thinking about being amateur MMA fighters or possibly newer professionals. How can they get in touch with you? and what would you like to have them already have kind of going or prepared once they contact you to make it a really smooth transition so that they can know in advance what you'll be expecting so that you can help them out best?
So I'll give you an example. My inbox gets flooded daily.
Sure.
Messages, hey, I want to fight, period.
Right.
And if I have to drag information out of you, I'm going to go on to the next guy.
Sure.
When you contact me, when you want to fight, consider a resume. Are you professional?
Mm-hmm.
Are you amateur?
Mm-hmm.
What's your record? What's your weight? Where are you located? You should have those things at a minimum for me when you're approaching me with wanting to fight if I don't have a relationship with you and I don't know that information. I've got too many guys lined up that want to fight. I'm not going to research you. You need to do the research for me, provide it for me, so that I can make a decision. I can say, okay, that sounds good. I'm actually looking. What sometimes I have to do is when I'm looking for somebody, I'll search my inbox and say I'm looking for a flyweight. I'll put flyweight or I'll put 125 as a search criteria.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to bring me up guys that told me they're a flyweight or they're a 125-pound fighter. If you didn't put that in your message, I'm not going to find you.
That's right.
I'm not going to, so it's really important. And, people can contact me directly on the V3 Fights Facebook page if you send a message, or my email directly is Lederfine, LEDERFINE @v3fights.com. Those go directly to me. I see all those messages. Sometimes I do get overwhelmed with them, but if you do something that sticks out and I see it, I'm going to respond. I'm going to get back to you.
That sounds good. And fighters do have to understand, because a lot of fighters are coming up, maybe they're 18 or 25, although some fighters are starting at 30 or 35. But for younger fighters especially, who have never been involved in business or anything like that, or involved with someone who is literally getting hundreds, if not thousands of emails, when he says he'll get back to you, you got to understand if it's not 2 hours later or even 12 hours later, it doesn't mean he's blowing you off. But you got to give him maybe a couple days, because he is dealing on a high level with a high volume of requests. So, he'll be a man of his word. If he has some interest and you've come at him professionally with information, he'll get back to you, but just give him a little bit of a time, some time, as it normally works in business. So, that sounds really good. And also, I think there are a few other things that I know that you really want to make sure fighters know that can be helpful. And I think one of them had to do with having prepared blood tests or something like that. Can you let us know how that would help and what that means?
Right. So if you fought previously, it's very important for you to understand the requirements of the commission that you're fighting in. Say Tennessee, for example. In Tennessee, an amateur only needs to have blood work, which is an HIV, Hep B, and Hep C test. And it has to be good within 6 months of the date of the fight. So one thing I recommend to fighters, if you want to stay active, have blood work that's within your commission's requirements on hand at all times. Me as a matchmaker, there's times where fights fall out days, even hours before the scheduled fight. I don't have time for you to go get blood work for 3 days. I need to have that ready to go right then and there. So if you really want to fight, that's another thing you should tell a promoter when you're requesting a fight is, I've got blood work. I'm cleared the commission. I'm licensed to go. I can fight right now if I need to. That's really important. You might be interested in fighting, but if you don't have a license, certain states, if you don't have medicals, certain states, those things don't happen overnight. They can be costly. They can take weeks to get done, and no fight promotion is gonna get you on the card at the last minute if you don't have those things done.
Right. That's very important, and that's probably something a lot of fighters do not know. But just like in the UFC, when a fight falls out last minute, a day before, a few hours before, a few days before, a week before, and you hear these other names brought up, one thing they're not telling you is sometimes some fighters that looks like they would have been great matchups are not accepted, and it may have had something to do with it. They didn't have their medical clearance, blood work, anything like that. So, obviously, like, fighters love to have advance notice, even though when you're just coming up, you're not going to have a ton of advance notice. They're more than likely you're not going to have 3 months to prepare for an opponent. But do realize that you could get a break in a really good show like V3 if you are prepared and they find you and your blood work is done and you're all licensed and everything's tight, you could get an opportunity last minute that someone else wouldn't have gotten because they weren't prepared. So I think that's really great information, and thank you for letting our audience and me personally know about that, Jason.
Especially matters for amateurs.
Okay.
A lot of amateurs, you're going to get your break at the last minute.
Right.
We don't like to put a lot of debut guys on. We like to put guys that we know are going to show up. We know they're going to put a show on. We know their abilities. But sometimes one of those guys falls out at the last minute. So you have your stuff done, especially as an amateur. I'm calling up people sometimes at the last minute. I had a heavyweight a few months ago show up the day before a fight. He was 1-0. He had all his stuff done. I said, look, you take this fight. It's on 1 day's notice. I'll give you a title shot.
Nice.
Guess what? He won. And then guess what he did in his title fight? He won. He
Nice.
became our amateur heavyweight champion.
Love that story.
He wouldn't have gotten that opportunity had he not had his stuff taken care of when I called the day before the fight.
Right. That's awesome. That's a really good example. And so guys and girls even, keep that in mind and, be prepared, and you can get your break. The door, if there's a knock at the door, you got to not only answer, but you got to have your shit together, as they say. And I think if you do have your shit together, then you're going to get really good treatment and you're going to get breaks from Jason Lederfine here. So, come at him that way, be ready, and then you'll be someone that he can look to definitely help out. So, tell me, I believe there, along with the fight announcement, I think there was like a main event perhaps for this next fight over there. You wanted to kind of shout out a little bit the main event fighters so that people can understand who they are and a little bit of what kind of a stylistic matchup we might be having. If you'd like to do that, go ahead and throw that out, because I think the main event's got some of your better guys in this next V360, I think, right?
I can already tell you, in the Alliance organization, we've probably got fight of the year, card of the year already lined up. And we've announced 2 pro fights so far, which are absolutely amazing. The first one is going to be for our vacant welterweight belt. It's going to be undefeated Jaleel Willis. Jaleel's 7-0, and he's here locally from Memphis Judo Jiu-Jitsu, and he's going to face Nolan Norwood, who's 9-3 out of Westside MMA in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Nice.
These guys are absolutely phenomenal. Both of them are tough. Nolan is one of the toughest guys in Arkansas, if not the toughest guy in Arkansas. And Jaleel was kind of told not to take that fight.
Oh, wow.
Because, he's not a guy you're going to finish. He's not a guy that's going to lay down for you. He's going to be the toughest fight you ever had. And Jaleel said, perfect.
Nice.
That's what So, that's a huge fight. Our co-main event is going to be the first ever champion versus champion in the Alliance organization, where we're putting both belts on the line.
Oh, wow.
We've got undefeated Bryce Mitchell, who's 8-0. 7 of his wins are in the first period, all by submission.
Wow.
His 8th win is the second round submission.
Nice.
So all fights, he's finished the fight.
That's a finisher.
Look, you don't get paid by the hour in there.
Nope.
You get paid the same if it goes 3 rounds or it goes 30 seconds. And Bryce he's good on getting it done as soon as he can, and he's done that. His jiu-jitsu game has been compared to Damian Maya.
Wow.
His MMA jiu-jitsu. This guy is amazing. And he's our V3 champion.
Awesome.
He is our featherweight champion. That was the first professional belt we've ever issued. He did that in January. He won in the first round, rear naked choke, submission.
Nice.
But he's got the toughest test to date in Jose Mariscal, who is the HFC champion from Hoosier Fight Club up in Indiana. This guy is absolutely a beast. He's made jiu-jitsu black belts look like white belts. This guy is so tough. This is an absolute, this could be on a UFC pay-per-view right now. These are the 2 best featherweights not signed to the UFC right now in the world.
Wow.
Those are the best in the world not signed by the UFC. And I can guarantee you, whoever wins this fight, I expect their phone to ring fairly soon afterwards and get a call up to the big leagues.
That sounds like, if they're that good, and I believe you, because you're a man who knows your stuff. It sounds like these guys are up and coming for sure, and the winner, possibly even the loser if it's a tight fight, may be getting calls. And it sounds like some great grappling we're going to see, maybe even some great striking when you have a couple of great grapplers like that, and that sounds really, really exciting. And always anxious. You got a good Midwestern boy there against a good Southern boy. Looks like it's going to be a hell of a fight, and I'm anxious to see that.
Yeah, we're definitely really excited about it. and we've got another amazing title fight that I announce at the end of the show. So make sure
Awesome.
you stay. But
Definitely.
this show is just where we're going with it. All of our amateur fights are going to be mostly our regional amateur champions. The best amateurs in the area, the guys that are most pro ready. We've got some guys out of Arkansas. We've got Tennessee, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
We've got guys from all over. This Memphis area is just so packed with talent. We actually just had on B3 Fights 59, we had Joshua Marsh out of Long Island. He's the first NAIA National Wrestling Champion from Midlands University, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
He just came down and won our heavyweight belt last weekend.
Awesome.
So he's our heavyweight champion. And we're going to put him on the card as well. So we're looking for an opponent now for him.
Mm-hmm.
That was a level of wrestling we hadn't seen down here in Memphis. He came in and beat an undefeated pro heavyweight. That heavyweight was undefeated as an amateur, was undefeated as a professional, and Josh Marsh came through here and made it look really easy and won our heavyweight belt. So this is definitely another guy that has the right management team, has the right coaches, has everything that he needs to get to the next level. Just needs to get a few more wins under his belt, and he's definitely gonna go to the big leagues.
Sounds like it. What is the date of this V360 event, and what time do doors open, and where's the venue once again for our listeners?
B3 Fight 60 is going to be in Memphis, Tennessee at Minglewood Hall. It's going to be June 17th. Our doors open at 6, fights start at 7. If you've never been to a B3 Fight show, it is the atmosphere, the people, the crowd, the show is one of the best things. Like I said, I came to a show as a fan. Nick Harmeyer, the owner of B3, is a huge military supporter. And as a veteran, he had put some tickets online for free for some veterans.
Right.
So I got some free tickets. I came to a show, and I was blown away. And the matchmaker was another wrestling coach. So, I got into a relationship with him. I decided to ask if I could take over their social media. I did it. And a couple months later, I was their in-cage interviewer after the fights on the broadcast team. And now I'm in charge of all fighter relations. So if you're negotiating a contract, you're negotiating with me. And it's an amazing event. And just going with Alliance, we're one of the first companies in the Memphis area to go public in over 5 years.
Oh, wow.
If that tells you, Nick Harmeyer started this at a small venues and bars with 30 people there, half of them being the crew that breaks down the cage,
right,
to a publicly traded company 5 years later.
Wow.
I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. There's a lot of regional promotions that start up, and, they have 2 or 3 shows. After that, checks start bouncing.
Right.
People aren't paid. The venue's mad, and they disappear.
Yes.
So for us to have our 60th show, I think it goes to show that, Nick has done everything in his power to do the right thing, make smart decisions, and build V3 Fights into what it is today, which is a publicly traded company on NASDAQ. You can buy stock in us under AMMA.
AMMA. So for those investors, and I'm sure we have some listening, AMMA on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange would get you involved in the Alliance MMA group. Investors can do your own research, but to me that sounds like it's a really good time to get in on something like that. I see this thing really blowing up, and it's already probably, to me, Alliance having all these different promotions probably is the power of regional MMA anyway right now, and is only going to get bigger. So I think that could be a really good investment for those of you who have a few extra dollars or are inclined to do so. So I really like what I'm hearing with that. Let me
just to get the numbers. Just remember the numbers.
Yeah.
UFC was purchased for $2 million.
That's right.
It sold only for $4.2 billion.
Insane.
And they're not publicly traded. You cannot buy stock in the UFC.
No.
You cannot buy stock in Bellator, but you can buy stock in Alliance MMA. You can buy, and that's what's really exciting about it. We're the only MMA company in the United States you can do that with.
I like that,
So,
and that says something.
If it comes up and explodes like the UFC does,
Mm-hmm.
the UFC sold for more than any NFL or basketball team has ever sold for in the history of the world.
Right.
And so that tells you how much promise there is in the fastest growing sport in the United States.
Absolutely. I think we all see it, and those of us who have been fans for years see the growth. And just by you pointing out those numbers, a $2 million sale less than 20 years ago is then a $4 billion sale during that time. And that's not just inflation. That's a company becoming thousands of times worth more than it was, and that's huge. So a lot of good stuff there. Let me ask you here, Jason, I'd like to have your opinion on a few things, being that you're so involved in so many different aspects of the V3 promotion. What are your thoughts about what's going on with a couple subjects, with weight cutting issues? Do you have any solutions? Can you throw any insight for the fans on what the heck's going on there? What are some of the bigger problems? What maybe used to exist that was good, that has been cut out, that's now making things even more dangerous? And then maybe your thought on weight classes, and then also talk a little bit about judging, and if there's anything you think can be done or you guys have been able to do over at V3 to stop some of these terrible judging calls. But if you want to start out, why don't we start with your thoughts about weight cutting, and then even weight classes, if any, on that. I know weight cutting you have thoughts, but let me know let me have some insight from Jason Lederfine's Brain Trust here about what the heck's going on and what's wrong and what the problems is, what possibly could be done, if anything.
What's funny is I think high school wrestling nationally has figured out the weight cut issue. When I was in high school wrestling, it was not uncommon to cut weight, extreme amounts of weight, plastic bag, sauna, you're doing it all, cutting weight. Now, what high school wrestling has instituted is before season, you do a hydration test, a height and weight. And there's a declination diagram of how much you can weigh by what day. And every single time you weigh in, if you weigh over, that's going to affect how you can progress down in the weight class. And what it's really done is it's eliminated major weight cuts in high school wrestling. Guys now are cutting 5 pounds.
That's
They're
good.
cutting 2 pounds. They're not cutting a lot of weight anymore.
Much better.
So the National High School Wrestling Association has figured out how to kind of stop the weight cutting. Now we move to combat sports. Combat sports guys are looking for any advantage that they can get.
Yeah.
And the biggest advantage you can do is you cut weight. Is you say, you know what? I walk around at 170 pounds, but I'm going to make 135.
Yeah. Wow.
I cut down, I dehydrate myself,
Yeah.
and I've got 24 hours to recover after I weigh in, so I'll be fine. Well, a lot of these guys aren't fine.
Right.
You saw, Tony Ferguson's fight was canceled because his opponent couldn't make weight. He was taken to the emergency room, almost died.
Right.
We're seeing as matchmakers and promoters, it's one of the worst things that can happen is guys not making weight, because then the fight's in jeopardy. The opponent doesn't have to accept the fight. If you don't make weight that you're obligated to make, the opponent doesn't have to take the fight.
Right.
And it puts everybody in a bad position if you don't.
Yeah.
We just recently had a guy at another promotion. He came 36 pounds overweight.
That's crazy.
Pounds overweight.
That's nuts.
So it's part of a coach's responsibility to check your guys' weight often and see where they're at. Don't wait for the fight week. Don't take their word on it. Get in there and check these guys' weight. And if there's going to be an issue, if you know he's got 20 pounds to cut in the last week and he cannot do that, you need to get on the phone and you need to call us. You need to say, hey, Jason, my guy is not going to make weight. He can't cut 20, but I know he can cut 10. Can we talk to the other guy and get this worked out? Give me the time as a matchmaker promoter to get it worked out. Don't show up to weigh-ins 10 pounds over while your guy makes weight. Show up to weigh-ins with an agreed-upon weight that everybody agrees to and they can make, so that the fight can go on.
Yeah.
It really sucks when one guy meets all of his obligations, trains, makes weight, shows up on time, sells tickets, and his opponent doesn't.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this: if you do that for most promotions, you will never get another opportunity to fight for them again.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you that right now. There's people on our list that will never fight under alliance ever again in any organization that I'm with. And anybody asking me for somebody outside of our organization, I'll make sure to mention that, hey, you do not want to do business with this guy because he can destroy and ruin your card.
Right. And it's not just, it's not really, so my listeners understand, it's not out of spite, but it's like if you show up to fix a leak at a hotel where there's hundreds or 1,000 guests, and you show up there and you don't have your tools with you, it's not just a brain fart. You now the whole hotel may be flooded and ruined and people hurt, and you can't do that. You can't do something and let someone down and put someone in such a bad position and ruin and end their show possibly. That's what it is. It's not that the promoters are mad at you, but that's the kind of ramifications that it could have, that it ruins the whole show, and everyone wants their money back and everyone's angry, and so not a good thing. You don't want to do that, especially coming up. It's unfortunate that it happens on the highest level, but people don't like it there either. But especially you can't do that coming up. That's just a reality. What do you think, Jason? With the IVs, I think things were a lot safer. And why the heck did they take those away? I guess their thought was, well, we can't think that a 28-year-old perfectly healthy guy should have an IV in his arm unless somehow he was in a car accident or is sick. I mean, was that their thought, or they thought, wow, this is like blood doping? Why the heck would they have taken that away? And is there anything positive that they took away IV rehydrating?
I think the mindset is, if we take it away, guys won't have that to fall back on and won't cut as much weight.
Oh.
Not stopping them from cutting the weight. Now
work.
all it's done is made it more dangerous
Yeah.
for these fighters.
Yeah.
So you've got to let guys take IVs. They're going to cut weight, period. Until you do something to fix that, don't make it more dangerous for these fighters and get championship fights at the highest level canceled the day of because guys don't make weight or they're injured, they're dehydrated, they're killing themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to wait. So you need to give them every legal tool.
Yeah, I agree.
IV, absolutely legal tool. It's not blood doping. It's not a performance-enhancing drug. All it's doing is getting fluid back into your body fast so that you can be, anybody that's cut weight knows, I've been to the point where I've cut 25 pounds over 3 weeks, and I would have to have somebody with me at all times.
Yeah.
Because I always felt like I was going to pass up. If I stood up too fast,
Yep.
I would have to sit back down
Yeah.
and catch my breath and get my head from spinning because of all that weight cut that I've done.
Yeah.
And we've made it more dangerous by eliminating IVs. And I definitely think we need to look at that because it's only made it more dangerous. It hasn't made the weight cut safer.
Yeah, they should bring it back, and I haven't heard anyone that disagrees, and I really hope they will. I would think they could. A rule can be changed and changed back, and that's something that should be changed back for sure. Unfortunately, though, with the rule of each state out there, it applies to to each and every individual state. So would that be the case that every state's, looking at your context with your parent company Alliance, is every state disallowing that, or is it like a athletic commission agreement, or are some states still possibly allowing IV hydration? Do you have any idea on that?
Actually, from what I know right now, only the UFC is actually banning hydration therapy.
Oh, wow. So it isn't individual states and athletic commissions.
No athletic commission is going to ban IV fluids. They're not. So they're perfectly legal. It's something you can walk into most emergency rooms or men's wellness clinics and get a quick. Some people do it on Saturday morning if they've been out drinking all Friday night.
Right.
To get hydrated.
Yeah.
When I was in the Barracks, come Friday, Saturday night, Sunday morning, we're all getting IVs because we've been partying hard. And it really does help you. It's not performance enhancing, so it's something that I hope gets corrected and people are able to take IVs again.
Yeah, I would hope so. It's a necessary evil because they're not going to stop cutting weight. That's the unfortunate thing. Speaking of which, I had a thought. I had several guests mention we need more weight classes like boxing, and it makes sense to me. And then someone presented an interesting, not opposition to it, but our guest, the commentator from Bellator, Jimmy Smith, was on about a month or so ago, and he said, the thing is more weight classes. Not that it's not a good thing, and eventually perhaps that will happen, but that's paraphrasing. But he said, if you do it though, one thing you might see is someone who was walking around at 200 to make 170. If there's a 160 class or 165 class, that might be their next goal. And I said, no, that's not what we're wanting. It's wanting to be the guys who could barely make 55 would then have 65. I said, no. He said a lot of the guys that will say, hey, I made 70, maybe I can make 65. and that's not good. Is there any way around that? Would there be any way we could say that if you fought at a certain weight class, you cannot go down to this new weight class, or could that be prevented? Would you know, any thoughts you have on that, or you know, would you just have to expect some people are going to try to do that, but there should be several weight classes more anyway? What's your thought on that?
Well, look at boxing. You know, you have guys that compete in 7 different weight classes and hold, you know, titles in every single one of them.
That's
and
true.
They're like, you know, from the lowest weight class to the highest weight class, it's only a 9-pound difference.
Right, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Have a weight class every 2 or 3 pounds.
Right.
I keep track of all the boxing weight classes.
Right.
I absolutely can't. I don't think that we need more right now. You know, I do remember back in the day when there was no limit on heavyweight.
Right.
I would look at that. But if you did an unlimited heavyweight, I would probably raise the limit of the light heavyweight division. So you don't have 206 to, you know, God knows how high
Right.
someone. You don't want someone 206 pounds facing someone 400 pounds.
Right.
I think we're good at where we are. You know, women's MMA, you know, they have atom weight down to 105.
Yes.
You know, 115, 125, 35, 45. So the women have some weight classes. The men, I think it's spread out enough to where people can safely make their weights, and I personally don't see a need to promote or advance any more weight classes right now.
Okay, understandable. And I did have good insight from Ed Suarez on the show a few weeks ago from the LFA. I'm sure you're familiar with him. Very good guy, and they're trying to do a lot of good stuff there as well. He said that if you put in more weight classes, you got to try to get 10 people that are really good and competitive right away. That's hard to do. And then if it's going to be in something like the UFC, where are they going to get their fights? If they're already having so many people on the roster that it's hard to get everyone 2 fights in a year or 3. If you create another weight class, all of a sudden you've got that many more people that need to get, you know, fights, and it's just going to make it really tough. You have to have the promotion doing 2 shows a week or something, maybe. That's paraphrasing. But that was an interesting point he made, that, you know, would there be enough promotions for that to happen? You might get people now who are getting only 2 fights a year have to go down to 1 fight a year if they open up another division. Albeit, I think a 125 women is important, and I think that may have been actually something they wanted to do instead of 45. But, you know, I'm glad for Megan Anderson, she was on last week, that they have 45 because she's awesome, and I hope she's signed there soon. But 125 women, I think UFC should embrace. That's just my thought, but a lot of tough girls there. Do you have females in either V3 at this point or anywhere in Alliance, or if not, do you think you might soon? What's going on with the women's MMA?
V3 does. The women usually put on fight of the night. We do have a strawweight champion, an amateur female strawweight champion. We have probably one of the best professional strawweight female fighters around, in Mandy Polk. She is an absolute beast. She was just on the news recently. Someone was getting robbed downtown Memphis, and she stepped in and physically stopped the guy from robbing her.
Wow.
Using her skills. So, you know, just a great positive story from somebody. So we love women's MMA. You know, me coming from a wrestling background, I absolutely love women wrestling.
Yeah.
They say the sport of wrestling. I don't think if there was women's wrestling in the Olympics, I think wrestling would have been dropped from the 2020 Olympics because of not having women. But because we did, I firmly believe that they saved the sport of wrestling that, you know, obviously is my first love.
Sure.
And the women's fights, you know, a few years ago, they didn't think a woman would be in the UFC, and now they're headlining major UFC pay-per-views as the main event. So look how far it's come, and we absolutely love and support it, and we put women on our cards whenever we can.
Awesome. And let's give a shout out again, because we may have had possibly a sound glitch when you said her name, or I just didn't hear it super clearly. Let's give the name of that strawweight champion pro of yours that did save the day in that incident in Memphis. What was her name?
So she's not we don't have a pro strawweight champ yet. We have an amateur one.
That's right. I'm sorry.
But Andy Polk, Polk, she's a local Memphian from here. She's the one that was just on the news. You can look her up, Google her. She's a phenomenal athlete. She is carved out of granite. She's tough. She's in wrestling rooms wrestling with guys. Mm-hmm. She's on the jiu-jitsu mat. She's striking. She's a personal trainer.
Nice.
And we're really glad to have her a part of our organization.
And how do you spell her first name?
Mandy, M-A-N-D-Y.
Just like it sounds. So Mandy
Right.
Polk, look out for that. Looks like a hell of a tough athlete and someone that also cares about the community there, which is always a good thing. Awesome. How about judging? And I'm really anxious to hear your opinion. And let me give you an added clear direction on where I'm going with this. We all know that a lot of judging sucks. Back in the day, all they could do was get judges that had done boxing. And I know we both like boxing, to an extent, but now enough years have gone by where it shouldn't be that we could say that people could say, well, half of our judges were just boxing judges, or 2 out of the 3, or one of them was just, it should be that we have judges that know what they're doing. What the heck is going on, though, with the fact that there's literally debacles every few weeks? Is there anything you think that can be done on the large scale, or is there anything you can do at V3 fights, or is it something that's completely out of the control of the promotion? Let our audience know how that works, and if there's anything you can do or any thoughts you have on the issue.
One of the problems that, Vic McCarthy, who helped write the original scoring criteria for judges in the 90s,
Right.
when MMA first starting, he did a great video and really explained it. So there was 4 judging criterias, and that was effective striking, grappling, aggression, and cage. There was just too many things to judge around on. Guy A might say, you know what? Judge 1 says, Guy A was more aggressive. I'm going to give him the round.
Right.
Judge 2 says, Guy B controlled the cage. I'm going to give him the round. And Judge 3 says that guy had more effective striking. I'm going to give him the round.
Right.
So you're getting judges judging the round on too many different criteria. So what they've done now with the new universal rules, which I think are working great, is they've limited it to 2 things that you're going to judge in a round: effective striking, effective grappling. And I want you to remember that offense gets the nod. MMA is an offensive sport. If I throw 10 punches at you and you block 8 of them, I still get credit for landing 2 punches. You don't get credit for blocking 8 of them.
Right.
I was an offensive person. If I throw 1 elbow strike to the face and you throw, 10 punches to the body, I'm going to win the round based on the elbow strike because it was a more dominant strike.
More dramatic and aggressive, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They're looking at that. So let's say that we have a guy that was completely dominant. What the rules now are, they want judges to start scoring 10-8 rounds. And they're gonna base that off of 3 categories: dominance, duration, and damage. Let's say I'm in a dominant position, a full mount, I've got your back, whatever it is, it's a dominant position. A 5-minute round, I have that position for over 3 minutes. I've just won a 10-8 round based on dominance and duration. That should be a 10-8 round. And like John said, a lot of judges are scared to give 10-8 rounds because they don't want to affect the outcome of the fight by taking points away. But
right.
At the end of the day, if you earn it, you earn it.
Yeah.
And it should be awarded to you. And I'm really hoping that judges start looking at that criteria. We just had a show last weekend, and I can tell you that I didn't disagree with a single call. Not a single judging call on that card. So I think locally we've got some of the best judges in the country. Jeff Mullen, Anthony Manus, those guys are doing Bellators, doing UFCs, traveling all around the world. They were renowned world championship kickboxers. They've been around the sport for longer than most of us have been alive.
Yep.
So we've got some great judges down here, and I'm starting to see that the universal rules are taking effect. And judges are looking at fights differently, and it really reflected last weekend in the judges' scorecards.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That really is, and that's really important because it's really bad when a decision goes the wrong way. It's like someone's been ripped off of a better paycheck and advancement in their career, at least for the time being. So that's really important, and I like that you have good people over there. I think individual states and commissions then just need to make a bigger effort to do something, and I think a lot of the big shows are in Las Vegas, and it seems like there's debacles there, and then New York, the debacle with the call. Not that it wasn't a difficult thing with the Weidman Musasi, but we just have to try to have the judges out there and doctors and people be as prepared and knowledgeable about our sport as possible. It's really important, and I can hear you're passionate about that, and I'm glad in the position you're in you need to be, and it shows you really care about the fighters and your promotion. That's awesome. So let me tell you that we want to go a little bit longer, and I know that you have another obligation here, but we want to go about another 5 minutes while we have you here to let you break the news and blast out and announce this fight that has not yet been announced for, I believe it is the next V360, right?
Correct. So one thing I want to know, I'm going to be in the Los Angeles area starting Saturday for a week. If anybody wants to contact me and wants me to come down and check out your gym, get your fighters in our database for possible fights around the Alliance MMA circle. We've got a lot of connections with a lot of people. We can get you fights. I can also come down and kind of teach your guys how to focus on social media, how to advertise, how to sell tickets, how to get sponsors. I've got no problem. I can come down to your school. I'll be down there next week for 1 week, flying in Saturday, leaving Saturday morning the following week. So you can reach me at the V3 Fights Facebook page, or you can directly email me at jlederfine@v3fights.com, and I have no problem coming down and checking it out. I'll bring a V3 belt with me, a pro belt. You guys can take pictures with it and everything. It'll be a great time, and I really look forward to meeting some guys when I'm out there. But fight news, breaking fight news, contract signed, ready to go. We are going to have from CFFC, their flyweight champion, Sean Santella. He's going to face off against Lawrence DiGiulio, the HFC champion, in a battle for the interim V3 Fights flyweight belt. So one man walks in, is going to walk out with 2 championship belts. It's either going to go to HFC or it's going to go to CFFC. Sean recently has been calling out Lawrence. He wants to fight him. Sean is an absolute beast. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. Lawrence's last fight, he submitted the guy in, I think, 30 seconds with a guillotine choke.
Nice.
These are two of the best flyweights in the country, not currently signed by the UFC. They've agreed to it. We've got one guy coming in from New York. We've got one guy coming in from Indiana, and they're going to do battle in Memphis, Tennessee for the interim flyweight championship. And I can't even begin to tell you how excited and pumped I am for this fight, because these guys talk. They want it bad, and I can't believe we made it happen. Everybody's agreed to it. When I talked to the manager of these guys, and I told both sides, everyone's agreed and we're good to go, they were blown away. They said, this is fight card of the year material that you guys have, and we're not done.
That's awesome.
We're done. So we've got some more stuff coming up. Really appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah.
I hope all the V3 fans and MMA fans enjoyed it. We've got some big things coming up. Some things we're going to be announcing later that maybe I can do on your show that we've got signed, sealed, and delivered. We just haven't announced yet. Some absolutely major things that are happening in the MMA world for Alliance MMA and V3 Fights specifically.
Awesome.
We are so excited about it. Big shout out to everybody in Memphis, in my hometown, Long Beach, California. I'll see you guys next week, and I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Awesome. Great stuff there, and I wanted to react and say that sounds like an amazing unification fight between two guys for the newly created title in V3. That sounds just absolutely freaking awesome and exciting, and some great matchups. So wanted to just make sure you heard my feelings on that. You guys, a great chance to meet Jason coming into town. Tell me again the day you'll be in town and the day you're leaving, Jason.
I get to town this Saturday, which is the 6th of May.
Right.
And I'm going to leave the following Saturday. I believe it's the 13th.
Excellent.
So that week I'm free. Hit me up. I'll bring a V3 belt. You guys can try it on and see what it's like to wear a championship belt. I'll tell you guys about, other expectations I have, social media use, all those kind of things, and how to get yourself known and your name out there in the MMA world if you want to be a fighter.
Fantastic. Well, that is definitely something that were I 15 years younger and ready to be a fighter, I would be taking you up on that and meeting you right away. But I will recommend any of our audience members that are wanting to do that. Here's a really hell of an opportunity to meet a guy that could help you tremendously in your career. So I want to thank you so much, Jason Lederfine. It has been a pleasure. I'm so glad to know you and have our show connected with you. You're welcome on the show anytime you have some information, anything you want to talk about, hit me up. And thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome. Have a good night. That was Mr. Jason Lederfine of V3 Fights, one of the really up-and-coming forces in our sport, and he's definitely someone you want to be connected with if you're a fighter. And if you're a fan, his shows have been kicking ass, and they will keep doing that and getting bigger and bigger. Publicly traded company. What can you say? Amazing. Go silent, and then I'll introduce you coming up, and we'll go from there.
You guys see me okay?
Yep, looking perfect.
Yeah. I have my buddy in the back there. He won't bother you. Just we'll work together.
No problem. Okay. All right. So this next guest I have really been looking forward to having on the show, ladies and gentlemen. He's originally from Russia. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the general manager of the world-famous Jackson Wink MMA Academy, Mr. Michael Lyubimov. Welcome to the show, Michael. How are you?
Great, guys. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I know that you have a lot of big stars over there at Jackson Wink. We know that John Dodson's over there, Cub Swanson, who just had that amazing performance, Cowboy Cerrone, Derek Brunson, John Jones, of course, and Alistair Overeem. But we hear you have some other people that are in there now, some permanently and some coming in just to get special coaching and training. Can you let us know some of the people there that I did not mention, or that might be newer on the roster or for the gym?
Definitely. We have so many great fighters training with us. We just recently got Claudia Gadelia coming to train with us. She came, I guess, ready for a second or third camp, cross training with us. We have Chase Sherman. He's a heavyweights fights in next UFC card.
Right.
We have Jack Marshman from Welshman. That I don't know if you've seen his fight against Jake Centerblade, I believe.
Yes, very tough guy.
Very tough guy, very powerful, very undersized for his division. Mm-hmm. And he came for camp. He loved it so much. He went back. He sent me a message. I'm coming back. I'm making this camp my permanent camp. We have Thibaut Gauthier, French guy, UFC fighter. My mind's kind of going blank, but I can go on and on probably.
For sure, lots of good people. And Claudia Gadelia, I like her a lot. She's talented and she's charismatic. I remember being on the show. She seems like a smart and nice girl. She's such a tough person, right? And great conditioned athlete, isn't she?
Yeah, our girls love having her here. She pushes everyone. She is, the top of the top. She's a one contender in that division. So we have a lot of girls that lower weight class. So she's a great addition to get other girls ready for their fights, and she likes being here. And I guess that atmosphere, just a vibe that we have. Everyone comes in here, and that's what they say. It's like, I want to be here because of that vibe. Like, I love the way you treat fighters. I love the way everyone is so happy here. No one is fighting, things like that. So it brings a lot of people here when they see that. They'll come in, they'll try it out, and like, you know what? I'm coming back. It's my permanent camp. I have another gentleman coming next week, UFC guy. Actually, I will look up my phone and I'll tell you his name.
Sure, that's fine.
He's coming from, tell you right now.
No problem. We're anxious to hear whenever you can see it out there. I know how sometimes phone technology is. Sometimes it takes me 30 or 40 seconds. But yeah, just all great things I've heard for so long about Jackson Wink. You have Greg Yoda Jackson, right? If they're still calling him Yoda, like the genius, the brain trust. and then with Mike Winklejohn himself having been a really good kickboxer years ago, and then with you there as a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, you got all you guys are trained guys that fight and train hard, and I think you guys respect the fighters, which is I think a big part of why it's such a great atmosphere there.
Yes, I think that's what makes it successful. That we all love what we do, and it's funny because when I ask Coach Wink every day when I see him, I say, "Hey, Coach, how you doing?" His first answer always like, "I'm living the dream," So it's kind of like the same thing I start saying, kind of like stuck to me. Like, yeah, we are living the dream. So for most people, it's funny how we are, right? We go beat each other up, and then we hug it out, and we have fun, and this and that. It's just like, and then the next day we want to do it again.
Yep.
That's what's funny about, like, why would anyone want to put themselves through getting beat up, every day, and not even knowing if you're gonna ever make it where you can make money, but it becomes just part of your life. It becomes part of your lifestyle, something that is so addictive that you can't get away from, So
yeah,
it's and then everyone who thinks alike. That's why it's such a huge, big, growing sport, just like jiu-jitsu is, right?
Yep.
That it makes a better version of yourself. I think that's what. And even if you don't ever succeed, to a big show, a big time, you never make big money, I think you still lived a good, honorable life as long as you did everything right, because martial arts do teach to a certain respect, teach you many, many life things and makes you confident and things like that. And that's why I think people attracted to it so much.
Absolutely, and having been in it for years myself, it's so true. I mean, you make true friends that are your brothers and your sisters that you train with there, and you have that bond and that respect from having gone through hell with the hard training together, and it's a great community, and it's a respectful community, and I think a lot of our listeners are in the community, and so it's a good thing. No matter where it takes you, being a martial artist is nothing but a good thing, in all senses of the word, especially, those that will conduct themselves that way. We have respect for our friends and people we train with. And at Jackson Wink, I've really heard that's the big thing, is respect and like a family atmosphere. So yeah, all props to you guys over there. Always thought highly myself of your academy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem. So do you want to give a little bit more information maybe about the website and how that works, or if people are wanting to be fighters and start training there, and what can happen maybe if they're just coming up, and accommodations, and because it's more than just a space for people to jump in and work out. Jackson Wink is a huge building that has all kinds of stuff. You want to tell us a little bit about what the academy offers, and what people, if they're looking to try to be a fighter, can find if they connect with you at Jackson Wink?
Definitely, sir. We have a very, very functional website, which is pretty much our gateway to the outside world. It offers people, obviously, inside look at our facility, and it's everything about us. Obviously, our frequently asked questions. Because when we started originally training and opened this gym, I was getting so many calls and inquiries about, fighters asking the same things over and over, and we started writing down all these things, and we created a big section of frequently asked questions on our website that allows everyone to find out what we're all about.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you go to our website, which is jacksonwink.com, very simple, very easy to remember, Jackson Wink. On the front page, there's like a button, you click on it, says New Fighter Inquiry. Then the fighters go on that website. They go on that page, they fill out their application, and it sends me the information. I screen it, and then I'll make a contact with them over the website, over the email, and things like that. So it's my major tool that I use, and that's how we recruit.
Sure.
Pretty much asks you about your experience. It asks you about your record, where you're from, where you want, if you want to stay here on premises, or if you want to, live outside, because we have different pricing for things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And So it shows a lot of amenities that we have at the facility, at this building. Like we have extremely amazing medical staff, medical team called the Elite OSM. They specialize in sports medicine, conventional sports medicine.
Excellent.
And, I mean, they literally fix you up. I mean, we're all broken to pieces all the time, and
Sure.
we're very proud of that place because, you know, they put you back together really quick. And, you know, as we always talk about, like, preventing injuries and staying healthy so we can all make it to the fights, right?
Yep.
And especially to a big show like UFC and stuff, we actually consider to have, which I'm very proud of, I'm not trying to brag, but it's a reality, that we are considered to be the one of the top camps that has literally the most UFC events per year and has the least amount of injuries.
Right. That's very significant.
And very significant. And we do train hard. It's not that we don't train hard. We train hard. We try to train as smart as we can. And but I think having a sports medicine doctor that understands how it works and how to fix you up is very important. I mean, he's taking care of Diego Sanchez, Michelle Waterson, Alistair Overeem. I mean, who's of who go there, and they help us out a lot. They because a lot of guys, you know, up and coming fighters, they're suffering, you know, financially. Maybe they'll work it out with you. They'll still fix you no matter what. It's like they don't turn anyone down. You know, if you hurt, you know, they'll take care of you. And it's crazy because they get they get a lot of like outside traffic. It's just not just fighters. They treat, you know, football players, baseball players, fitness models. I mean, who comes through here? A lot of actors come through because a lot of filming going on here in Albuquerque. So we're very proud of having him here. His name is Dr. Bo Hightower, the main guy. He has like amazing staff of people. They'll come in, they'll work on you, you know, and things like this, and they'll give you a therapy that you need to follow. And now guys are allowed to go directly in their room, like, you know, like foam rollers, like there's many different things that get, like, you know, those special boots that make your legs feel great, you know, like hot packs, whatever they have a lot of stuff that helps you maintain staying healthy, you know. It sounds like
a state-of-the-art situation over there, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it's a must, you know, for staying healthy, and all the fighters have faith in it. And if you follow our Instagram, we go on there, so you'll see how excited our guys get after their treatment, you know, and stuff like that. And we also have on-site nutritionist, Dr. Anita Del Pret. She is phenomenal. I mean, when she came aboard, we haven't had a single person who not make weight with her on board. We partnered up with a lot of great supplement companies that take care of us and help us out, like MRM Nutrition. We have Results RNA. We worked with Garden Alive before. There's many. It's actually, they're listed on our website as well, and they help us with nutrition as well. Barley and Oils. Barley and Oils is one of our major sponsors. They're phenomenal. So just like we have that, we have also Coach Winklejohn's wife actually she has an amazing degree in like nutrition and stuff like this. So you can get your blood tested for food sensitivities and things like this to get your immune system in order, things like that. It's amazing. And we have downstairs we have a restaurant, kind of like grab and go. It's still work in progress, but you can grab and go some things. And they also can customize meals for you, literally, like if you want to cut weight, or if you want to just maintain weight, or things like that. They customize meals for you, and then you just pick them up downstairs and stuff like that. And what else? We have on-site store. Like you can buy memorabilia, T-shirts, things like that.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I never knew any gym or training academy could have that much stuff in it. That's really mind-blowing. That's amazing to hear. And I'm sorry, I think you may have even had more to say, but I got to tell you, just because I was listening quietly here, but I never knew that any MMA training academy could have as many of those things as you mentioned. That's really impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, that's next level stuff. You know, we're trying to take the game to the next level because we all love the sport. We're all winners. We want to win. You know, so it's you know, now it's not even if we lose, we still win. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yeah, we have so many fights every weekend and stuff like this. So we have to. It became a very well-oiled machine that just has to like operate in a certain way, and we rely on certain things obviously to stay afloat and make it better and treat all the fighters the best way we can. So that's why we constantly I'm looking at new things and Coach John obviously owns this building, so we have to always come up with new ideas, things that they're gonna make it better and make a better environment for all the fighters, because obviously it's all has to do with customer service. We want the fighters to come back as well. You know, we don't want to be like, like, hey, I come for one cab, I didn't like this stuff. No, I mean, I have fighters. I'm not lying to you. I have fighters here nonstop. They'll come from wherever we come from all around the world. I mean, I have a guy here. He was sent by UFC previously because we work with the UFC closely. They send us a lot of fighters. We had a bunch of Chinese fighters. We have actually 6 Chinese fighters now. We have Mongolians were sent by UFC here. We had a lot of Indians because the UFC is trying to develop the Asian market,
Sure.
So I'm sure that they have great fighters on that side of the world. So, and they send them here to get that experience. And I mean, I have these guys, they're usually here for 6 months. So they'll come in, they'll do their 6 months camp, and then they'll leave. And I already have them coming back. They're like, I had a Mongolian guy, he barely speaks English. He moved here. He's like, I'm staying here.
That's awesome.
And like he went back, saved a lot of money, and moved here. I have a guy from Portugal, Francisco. He's like, came here for a camp. He's a mainstay now. He's like constantly over here.
That's awesome. Because there are accommodations. There are accommodations there for fighters.
Yes, there are. At the gym, we can probably accommodate up to 50 people in combination with dorms and apartments.
Wow.
We added 2 more dorm rooms for separate dorm rooms for ladies. We have like 8 bunk beds there, so ladies can stay and kind of like separated from guys, and they have their own kitchen, laundry, their own kitchen, and things like that. So we're constantly trying to add new things. We even heard Coach Wink talking about building a 3rd floor. I'm thinking like maybe by the time we're done with this building, it'll be like MMA city over here.
It sounds like it. Like how many square feet is it now? What do you have? 10,000 square feet or 15 or something?
30,000 square feet.
30,000 square feet. Wow. That's amazing.
Not fully yet. We have still some space here in development that we're going to turn into probably more apartments.
Nice.
Because a lot of fighters want to stay by themselves.
Sure.
Because like we have dorm rooms where like a bunch of guys in the room, and girls and stuff. And then, but I hear a lot of people, hey, I want to stay by myself. I'm willing to pay extra and stuff like that instead of them moving out.
Right.
Because what a lot of guys do, they also, find place to live in Albuquerque somewhere, and then, and then they completely move here. They move their family and their kids, wives and stuff, and they find jobs here and they train, they work, and so it's like that cycle. Like it's a fighter city. It's like.
It sounds like it. That's awesome. And that new building has only been in place for what, 3 or 4 years, or the new big building? Because there was a smaller building, I think, years ago, right?
Well, this building previously was actually DEA.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this Albuquerque is known for Breaking Bad,
Right, yeah. Drug Enforcement Agency, right. Breaking Bad, yeah.
And then we've been here, I believe, about 2 years.
Okay, right.
In this new building. So
that's cool.
I started, I came here, I started working with Coach John about 3 months prior. And with my buddy Mark there in the back, we started working together from day one.
Very cool.
So we literally build this place up from scratch. I mean, Coach Wink just built it, and we just kind of started moving everything along.
It's amazing. It seems like you guys are doing just a phenomenal job. I think probably most of our listeners had no idea that there was so much stuff and so many accommodations with the medical care and the nutrition and the doctors, as well as different treatments and therapies and food and restaurant accommodations, training. Amazing. I think that's fantastic. And I think that's possibly a big reason why also you guys have the lowest injury rate of fighters is that you have that much in place to take care of these guys and girls, and that's awesome. And that, my show really is a big advocate of having the fighters be taken care of, be paid, be looked out for. And I think that the example you gave is the best example I've heard yet of a training academy that really is doing that. So a lot of respect for you doing that. It makes me really happy to hear.
Thank you.
No problem. So, well, that's excellent. Well, basically, you guys heard it here. Jackson Wink is a place that cares about fighters. So, keep cheering for them, because they're a really good bunch of people there. And, Greg, Mike, and now, Michael Lyubimov, the general manager. So they're really a team, really, of like the Three Musketeers of running a really, really great show. So we'll definitely be continuing to cheer for them and support them. So let me ask you, Michael, while I have you here, and I know that you are definitely big into MMA training as you do, and so I want to ask you about some fights here, and I know you wouldn't mind if they include Jackson Wink fighters, but I don't think these will, so even easier. Let's do some breakdowns of some upcoming fights. Would you mind?
Sure, of course, let's do it.
Excellent, I appreciate it. And so I know that on this UFC 211 card, you do have a guy you mentioned, an up-and-coming guy, Chase Sherman, and I know that we'll look out for him. Most of us, I think, may not be that familiar with his opponent, so I don't want to break down that fight, but I know that Chase is a tough guy and a lot of potential. Is he a nice guy? Is he an outgoing, funny guy, or a quiet guy? What kind of guy is Chase?
He is kind of like bust my chops all the time.
Yeah, that's cool.
But he's a cool dude. I mean, it's his second camp here, and unfortunately, he lost his previous fight for the really, really good guy and stuff. And what happens that when the fighter comes aboard at first, and then they get ready for a big fight, it obviously definitely hurts a lot when they experience a loss.
Sure. For
whatever reason. I mean, obviously. It takes a little bit longer than a month or 2 months to develop, get them under your wing. Like when Coach Jackson and Coach Wink start working with him, obviously you can't make magic like in a month and a half, because a lot of guys come in like some new guys come in for like 3 weeks before the fight. How much can you really do?
Exactly.
With so it happens, but. I really, we're all about loyalty here as well. So we really like when fighters come back and that they show loyalty to the camp. That means, that they cherish what we do, and we start obviously helping them out more and more and more. So and Coach Wink, and it doesn't matter if you're a very high level guy, a low level guy, whatever. If we see your ambitions and we see your loyalty, we will jump on board, with you and try to help you as much as we can with everything you do, And Chase is back for second fight, so hopefully he takes he does well this fight, But loss is part of the game, and it's like all we can do is just do the best we can.
Absolutely. We'll cheer for Chase for sure. So on that card, let's get into the breakdowns, and let's go from bottom to top. We'll save the bigger fights that people are excited about for our last couple predictions, but let's go maybe a couple minutes on each of these predictions between you and I. Let's start out with Chaz Skelly against Jason Knight, because I think Chaz is one of your guys, right?
No, actually, Chase is not one of our guys, but I trained with Chase when he was Team Takedown with Johnny Hendricks.
That's right, you know him.
Yeah, that's where I remember, and I've been following him, and he's been on a pretty on a good roll lately. I believe he won some fights, and look at his record. He's like 17-2,
right? And
he's fighting another gentleman who's like 19-2, Jason Knight.
Yep, both submission guys, I think. But tell me a little bit more about that matchup. Myself and our fans may not be as familiar, but you're right. Chaz Skelly's getting a lot of traction. Tell me how you think that fight will go, and what you know about these two guys, especially Chaz.
It's funny because I try not to ever predict fights because I've been for a while now. Predictions, it never work no matter how you look.
Absolutely.
I mean, person is going to be 100% always on point with who wins. It's impossible, right?
Especially in MMA.
Yeah, because it's MMA, so many upsets happen every day. But for me, like usually, because I know a person, you know, and I train with them, I kind of find that I share that bond with them, so it's kind of always cheer for them.
Sure.
Obviously, you know, it's normal, right? Because it's someone you know.
Definitely.
And on you, you know, and stuff like that. But I believe he is in a big role right now, Chess, and he's very good grappler, like very strong, good wrestling, good grappling, and very scrappy. So I think he might pull it off. I mean, but the other guy is no joke too. So it's like, I think it's a 50-50 type of fight because just looking at their records, which doesn't necessarily mean anything, but they're pretty kind of evenly matched. So
seems that way, and it seems like they're both more grapplers than strikers, and so you know it seems to happen sometimes when you have a matchup like that, they end up striking the whole fight. Isn't that funny how it goes that way? Because
I was about to say when you started talking about it, you'll never know because they're like, well, you know, a lot of guys when they respect each other's grappling too much, then you want to get engaged in it because they're like, what if, you know, so let's see if maybe my striking better than his since he's grappler, you know, so that's how guys think. Like, so let me try my striking. And I guess maybe if it doesn't work, then they jump into what they know best. You know?
Right, exactly. Whoever hurts the other guy first, the other guy says, all right, I'm done with this. And then maybe jumps into the grappling. So we'll see. That could be interesting. Now let's get on to fights that I am very familiar with, as are our fans, and you, of course, as well. Eddie Alvarez against Dustin Poirier. What do you think on that? Interesting matchup, isn't it? What are your thoughts on how you think that'll unfold? If you want to make a prediction at the end, that's great. If not, just how you think the fight will unfold and what we're looking at in that matchup.
Interesting fight, very interesting fight. Both top 10 guys, both fought Conor McGregor actually.
Yep.
Both. I mean, Dustin is a little bigger guy, you know, seems that way, powerful guy, but it's it's like one of those, you know, look at the record, 28-5, 21-5, you know, so it's again evenly matched guys. Both hit hard, both are well-rounded, both scrappy. So it's just a matter of who's gonna, who's gonna influence the whole fight and like come forward. I guess. I mean, I think Dustin might pull it off, and because I saw his last fight, I think he looked tremendously good. But can never count out Eddie. Eddie always champion everywhere.
Yeah. Do you think from all the training you've done? Personally in jiu-jitsu, and then also all the training you've done in MMA in the school there with your with the students and the fighters there, do you think the fact that Eddie did recently, his very last fight, lose in that decisive and unfortunate manner against Conor McGregor, that's going to possibly put him in a really negative state of mind that he can't overcome? Or what do you think? Have you seen fighters who, I'm sure you have, that come into a big fight and they just get smoked, unfortunately? Can they come back if they're given enough time, like 5-6 months like Eddie has been given? Or is that difficult? Usually it takes them time to come back to get their confidence, or they tend to go into a rut where their confidence is low and they begin losing many fights. What's your thought about that and your experience with what you've seen and how you think Eddie will react?
Of course, things like that happen all the time with people, right? Everyone reacts differently to different things, you know. So it's like one of those things where it depends on, you know, his mindset at that time. You don't know what his life is going through at that particular moment, what's surrounding him, what type of issues he's having, what type of, you know, there's so many things that we as people don't see that happen behind the scenes, you know, which that's why, like, you know, we have that term of, you know, keyboard warriors sitting there,
sure.
You know, bad things about you, and they have no clue, they don't understand anything that's happening behind the scenes, how it all works,
right.
What things affect fighters, you know, and different situations that they encounter. So I guess it all depends on that particular person. I mean, I've seen fighters, some crumble after big fights, and then some come back with a dominant fashion. Maybe, I mean, he's a champ. It seems like Eddie Alvarez is a very, very strong, mentally strong dude. So I think he's going to give it a big fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins. It might be. I think it's going to go to decision because both fighters are extremely durable.
Yeah.
So either one can grind each other out. So. Yeah. It's another one of those 50-50 type fights.
Yeah, I think so. Do you think? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, especially at that level, That's why I'm like, never will say like this guy is 100% going to win. You'll never hear me say that. Even if it's our guys, even John Jones is going to go out there. I'm always getting nervous because I know it's a fight. It's
Right.
anything
Can happen. Yep.
How great you are.
Very, very true. Very, very true. Good point. Okay, well, that is an even matchup too. Hard to call for me. We've got a few more here. Let's jump on next. The wrestling Olympian Henry Cejudo against Sergio Pettis, younger brother of Anthony. What's your thoughts on how that one plays out and your familiarity with those fighters?
Definitely. Well, Sergio Pettis used to come here with his brother. He loved this camp, and he surprised a lot of people, at his abilities and stuff. He is definitely a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who fights him. So it's like he's from a great camp, and great striking, good wrestling. He worked with Easy Martinez, who worked with us for a while, the wrestling coach. There's so many great things he can do. He's a pretty well-rounded martial artist, very good strike and stuff like that. And obviously, the other gentleman is an Olympic-level athlete. So you know that these are the fights that are like very hard to call. I mean, we're in a kind of predicament because it's like another one of those fights that
could go either way, right?
I think it's all going to be about how great Sergio Pettis is wrestling, if he can stop the takedowns, as usual. If he does and ends up striking, and he's coming from a very good striking camp where he will definitely outstrike if he gets it, if he keeps it on the feet.
Yeah.
If he gets taken down and controlled, which is Henry Cejudo is extremely strong guy, obviously. Myself, from my experience training with wrestlers, it's a nightmare.
Yep.
I wouldn't even know what an Olympic wrestler feels like. I mean, I've wrestled, and I know what John Jones feels like. Trust me, right?
Yeah.
So he's
close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I believe if John, like, let's say, would have chosen wrestling, he would have been an Olympian. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But, I believe in this fight, since just for the show, I'll call it. I think Anthony Pettis might pull it off. I mean, not Anthony. Sergio Pettis might pull it off. I'll just give him benefit of the doubt that he can stop the takedowns. But once again, who knows?
Yep, I agree. And I think it is possible. I think that would be a huge, huge victory for Sergio. And I know Sergio is looking at it this way, and I'm sure his camp is as well over at Duke Rufus Sport, because this would put him right into the top 5. So his motivation is big. There's so much for him to win. For Cejudo, to get back after losing to Taekwondo Benavides, there's always obviously motivation to him for him to win, but for Pettis even more. So he's going to be fighting really hard, and that's going to be an amazing fight, and I think that could go Pettis' way. Hard to say. Both are great athletes, but could. I try not personally to pick too much as the host of the show, but that you might be right. If Pettis can pull it out, it'd be amazing, and I think it is indeed possible. Let's look at the next one, and we are talking about two fighters you're very familiar with. Frankie Edgar and Yair Rodriguez. That's an interesting one. Rodriguez coming off that decimation of B.J. Penn. Notably, though, B.J. Penn well past his prime, but Yair looking like a really big talent and an amazing, diverse, crazy, skillful striker against just an absolute veteran grinder, tough as nails guy, Frankie Edgar. What do you think about how that one plays out in that matchup?
Interesting fight, beyond interesting, to me, because I personally like Frankie so much. I mean, I lived in New Jersey for a while. I've been in his camp. I watched him train. When I worked with a lot of Russian fighters back in the day, they always cross-trained with Frankie over there, and Ricardo Almeida and Nicoton. There's a lot of great guys. It's a very respectful camp, and we have a very good relationship with that camp. And I know Mark Henry pretty well, and Yair obviously used to train here. I don't know him very well personally because he already kind of transitioned somewhere else when I took over here.
Mm-hmm.
And he's tremendous, obviously, what he's been doing in the ring. That's like, it's very unique when you see something like this, that type of talent, especially that strike and wrestling. He's got everything, So and he's hot. He's on a big win streak. He's coming off a big win over BJ Penn, and he's been, running through everyone. So, but like I said, they always have something personal. Like since we just talked, like I am cheering for Frankie.
Yep.
So, just like him, my son likes him. Frankie's a wrestler, and my son wrestling. So, and they met before, so it's kind of my son likes him. So it's kind of you develop this loyalty towards certain fighters, in the way what you know about them, how you feel about them, and things like that. So, but Frankie, if he takes a year, I haven't seen Yair been taken down too many times and controlled on the ground, but I didn't think he ever fought anyone with Frankie's caliber.
No.
Because he's at 100 miles per hour type machine.
Yeah.
They just like forward pressure like no other, and he's great chin, great everything, great word instinct. I think I'll give Frankie this one.
Yeah. I think so too. I think it's going to be a hell of a tough fight. But I think this is just too big of a step up for Yair. Obviously, we both mentioned we could be wrong. MMA, you never know. I think if somehow this were 5 years from now and Frankie was 5 years older, for sure it's too late. But the question now, I think he still has enough left in him, and I think this will really tell that story if he wins this fight, that he's got another run left in him, and I hope so, because he's a really good guy and a really fan favorite, and it's good to know you personally know him and say that he's a good guy, because it really is that's perception, and so I've always been a Frankie fan. All right, we've got 3 more to go. Do a couple minutes quick on each. Damian Maia against Jorge Masvidal. This is a fight that's really making people excited. I'm sure you as well, right?
Big time, for being a big jiu-jitsu fan, of jiu-jitsu, and a huge fan of Damian Maia, of what he's able to do to guys, at that level.
Yep.
I can't bet against him, period.
Right.
So it's his jiu-jitsu, what he does to the top guys is unmatched by anyone. So I think he wins. I think he takes down Masvidal. He overcomes that striking and just kind of pushes forward, clinches, takes him down, submits him. Just like Rose does. But once again, you never know. Look at Jacare the other day. Who would have thought he's going to get cracked like this, and then your jiu-jitsu goes out the window. So you never know. That's why I say, I thought Jacare is going to win,
Yeah, me too.
Take him down, do his thing, and win. So at that level, anything can happen, but I'll give this to Maia.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I can't go as far to predict because that one is so tight, but as a jiu-jitsu guy myself, although I did striking in the past, I think probably that's the case, but I think the blueprint was laid out there by Robert Whitaker and Jacare for Jorge Masvidal, and and if he can do that and just completely keep stopping the takedowns, possibly that can happen, but I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. This fight also could be setting up to be similar to what would have been seen with Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. I could see a matchup have some similarities to that one. Do you see what I'm talking about, kind of with a little bit of similarities with that matchup?
Yes, I like it. I like that similarity there. I kind of see. The only thing is, Damian Maia is not much of a wrestler, but he drags people down all the time, so he's more. A little bit different style, but and he just submits guys. Khabib just throws him around, just mauls him. So a little bit different, but I see where you could have this similarity.
Yeah,
striker versus grappler.
Yep, similar concept in the matchup. So that should be a really exciting match, and the winner there just absolutely has to be the one that gets the next shot. Don't you agree?
Yes, and it's crazy, man. If I was going against Maia, I'd be nervous. Especially fighters like that are so good at doing what they do, and Masvidal is not known to be a grappler, right? So or wrestler or whatever. He's just that strong, experienced, good fighter. That's done a lot of things in the sport, but it's just Maia is just a crazy level. It's
all world jiu-jitsu for sure.
Yeah, it's beyond. It's the top. It's the cream of the crop right there. So it's especially the way he utilizes his grappling for MMA and makes guys look like they never even should have been in that cage with him.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're the biggest names of the sport.
Yeah. He's made the best guys look bad. You
Yeah.
know, which is, that's something to say. I agree. All right. How about the last two? Coming up next here, the women's title fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk against Jessica Andrade. I think that's going to be one of the best, most action-packed, possibly one of the most brutal and bloodiest women's MMA fight in a while. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with me on that analysis?
I think so. Yeah, I think so because Andrade is a tank. She's built like a tank. She's going to probably come forward like swinging like crazy and stuff. And you know what's crazy is like you have Joanna. You know she's got such a big target on her back. So all these girls that are fighting her, you know, want it so bad, and she's been on top for a while now. So, you know, eventually, obviously, you know, since we've seen not everyone can be on top of their game 100% all the time. So. You know, fighters do lose. There's not that many fighters with a 0 record in MMA. So on any given day, you know, it only takes just one slip up, and all these fighters, when especially for a title, so hungry to get it that they train so hard for it. So sometimes, you know, they make mistakes. Sometimes they're on point. You know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade walks out with the title, but obviously. I think Jędrzejczyk will prevail on this one. Maybe I don't know. It's also hard to say at this level. You know, number one contender, you know, champion, this and that. It's going to be a war. I agree.
It is. It's going to be super
I'll
exciting.
give 60-40 Joanna.
Yeah, and I think the odds are kind of like that or maybe a little bit greater. I've been leaning toward thinking the upset here. I really have. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm wrong and Joanna keeps the title, but I think Andrade is going to be a really tough matchup for her, and I think she could very well win this. I've gone out on a limb already. I think I'm going to predict the upset here in the new champ with Jessica Andrade. Final match, the main event. Let's break down Stipe Miocic against Junior Dos Santos. We know they fought, I believe it was 3 years ago, before Stipe had the title, and Junior did edge him in a tough, razor-thin decision. Some people think may have gone the wrong direction. Stipe may have deserved that fight, but tough. What do you think about this matchup, and what can you add from the matchup we saw before, and if it's going to be similar to that or different?
I think Miocic is going to win in this one because he just and Dos Santos is not the same fight anymore. I don't know, like it's hard. It's one of those things where I mean he been through some wars, you know.
Yeah, Junior.
And that plays a big. You know, it leaves a big toll on your brain and everything, and on your body and stuff like that. And Miocic is this tremendous boxer, right? I mean,
definitely.
You go to sleep, and then he wrestles. So you know, it is going to be a striking match, I believe, because obviously, you know, unless Miocic is going to get out, you know, Dos Santos is going to outstrike Miocic, and he's going to feel like he's going to try to take him down, and then it's going to be who knows what's going to happen on the floor because Dos Santos black belt jiu-jitsu, Miocic is a very top-heavy wrestler. Yep. So, but I give it to Miocic. I think his hands are so good, his boxing is so good, and I mean, you saw what happened to Dos Santos when he got outboxed by Overeem. You know, he got hit with that hook, and then boom, he went down. So it's like there is a big blueprint, to how to beat Dos Santos, and there isn't one for Miocic, not 100% bulletproof plan there, you know, for anyone when you're going against that guy. So I think Miocic probably, you know, 80-20.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Junior's going to fight hard, and he's going to not go down easy, but I think he's up against it with Stipe only have gotten better. In boxing, they used to say once you're the champion, you get 25% better than you were, and I think that very well could be the case. Well, that was a great breakdown. Let me ask you this. I know that you have another obligation, and we want to take maybe 2 minutes here. If you could share any interesting or funny or good information about any of the fighters over there at Jackson Wink that people don't know based on what you've seen them do or conduct themselves over in the gym. A little story about that, someone that you can tell us about if anything comes to mind for a couple minutes here.
Let me think. Well, actually, this always comes to mind with about John Jones. Actually, many people, don't know him very well, obviously, and they only see him through the things that happen to him and through those negative things, that media says and talks about. But actually, John Jones has a very interesting vibe about him, and the way he treats all the people at the gym. He comes in he always smiling. I never seen John sad. Period. He's always upbeat and stuff like this, and he always makes newcomers feel awesome. Like he'll see someone who he hasn't seen in the gym, and John will be the first one to come up actually and kind of shake their hand, tell them welcome to the team.
Cool.
I think make him feel welcome.
Very
and
cool.
That's pretty cool and very, very interesting, John. That's why it really hurts to read bad things about John, because he's such a likable person. I mean, we're all not perfect, but obviously because he's on the spotlight and he's a human being, and we all do dumb things. Believe it or not, no one is perfect. No one is 100% perfect. But if everyone had a spotlight on them, many of us would be down the drain. In the same way.
Very true.
Then there's a lot of funny stories in the dorms, like the dorm life and the things that happen there. Like, what happens in dorms stays in dorms.
Right. Like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but in the dorms of Jackson Wink, the same thing, right?
Yeah, the dorm life is funny. I mean, we actually been contemplating, and we're kind of already maybe almost there about maybe like reality TV type of thing where it shows how these guys live. It's like literally probably the funniest thing ever. And I have never had to kick anyone out really from the gym, because everyone just cherishes the moment being here, living together and stuff. Sure, like if I had to think about it deeply, I'd come up with a lot of funny stories. But I think we have not a lot of people know who Crazy Steve is. This is a funny person, right? He's one of the most original students of Greg Jackson from 27 years ago or something. Mm-hmm. Crazy Steve carries a machine gun with him. It's a kind of replica and stuff.
Oh, wow.
He's always on the mats running around with sorry, I gave him a nickname Crazy Steve, but he's like our mascot, if you want to say, because I don't think this gym will be the same without Crazy Steve. And he's got like 50 different weapons in his bag, and he's like loves weapons and stuff like this. And you'll see like when people come in, or someone's coming in and filming, or media comes in and stuff like, who's this guy? We have like 30, 40 people running in a circle, and we have like Crazy Steve. He's like, I don't remember how old he is, like 60 and stuff. He's got this big machine gun, and he's like in between the guys running around with like metallic shin pads and with like army helmets and stuff. So
I love it. That sounds like a character, huh?
It is a character. I mean, you can make a separate movie on this guy, man. Seriously.
That's cool.
He's a gentle, smart, awesome person. He deserves a monument, really, because he's been with Greg since day one. I mean,
that's cool. He's just really a fixture of Jackson Wink, it sounds like. Crazy Steve. That's cool.
Yeah, he was at the other gym, and then we transferred to this gym, and he came in, and he's got his best friend, Bob, that Bob thing that you hit the bag, it looks like a man.
Yes, the figurine that you can put a chokehold on that's on a stand, Bob.
Yeah, he actually just cut his head off. He has like knives and stuff, different things that he practices like self-defense,
Nice.
So he actually ruined that thing. And Bob. Yeah, we need a new Bob. So if there's anyone out there who wants to donate Bob to the gym, we'll take it. Because
I love it.
Steve misses him.
No, headless Bob would be difficult to practice the Mataleon, the rear naked choke on, wouldn't it? No good. You got to have a better Bob. That's cool. Well, definitely anyone wanted to do that, keep that in mind. But it sounds like a really great group there, and really gave us a chance to kind of have a look inside Jackson Wink. I like the idea, too, of the reality show for the dorms. That sounds awesome. And, again, really great, and informative show we've had, getting to know more about this great and world famous academy, Jackson Wink, and that is the website jacksonwink.com. You guys check it out, and you can't go wrong if you're going to be an upcoming fighter, in my opinion, than to head over to Jackson Wink. Well, I really want to thank you for coming on the show, Michael. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Really, really a great interview. You're a great guy, And I want to let you know, anytime you have time in the future, we'd be happy to have you on again, and or anyone from Jackson Wink, and really pretty much love to have you personally, though. I just want you to know that, my friend.
Anytime. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, I'd like to have a great relationship with you. Definitely seems like you're up and coming, and you're attracting a lot of great MMA individuals. I saw your show with Ed Soares and things like that. Let's keep up the good work. You're doing great. I'd like to get my buddy Mark actually behind me. He's one of our official photographers for the gym. So if you have if we can set it up, we'll do an interview. You can talk to him because he's there in the middle with these guys, also seeing them from a different perspective. So it'd be kind of cool if you wanted to talk to him to set it up.
Absolutely. I will say yes on that, and you and me will coordinate and make sure to have Mark on. That'll be our pleasure.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much again, Michael, and for your support and the kind words. Great having you. We will stay in close touch, okay, my friend?
Thank you so much, guys. Pleasure.
You're very welcome. Thanks again. You have a great evening.
Talk later.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye. And that was Michael Lyubimov, general manager from the Jackson Wink Academy in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Really great guy. Really gave us a lot of great insight about what goes on in that fantastic school. So let me check with my producer. I think we may have something coming up here, and I think we're about to. Okay, yeah. So basically, we have a little bit more time than I thought. So basically, nope. And so we don't. Good. So we're gonna do a pause here, and we will be back. Wow, so what a show we had. I am telling you guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Both our first guest, Jason Lederfine, and our second guest, Michael Lyubimov, really great guys, both part of amazing organizations that are really making our sport better for our fighters, for the fans, and just guys that really care. You can hear in both their voices, and they really want to help make things better for the fighters and do their job really well. That's one of the things in life you learn, is that everyone tries, but I think there's just a few people that really say, you know what, me doing my job well, especially if it involves other people, is incredibly important. So, these are two guys that are an example of that for sure. And I respect both of the guys a lot, and I'll definitely be even more interested, in connecting with and watching and cheering for both Michael over at Jackson Wink and all the people that are fighting for Jackson Wink, and Greg and Mike, and then as well as Jason over at V3. I hope you guys enjoy them. These are two good guys, and that's what I want to do for you all, is have really good people on the show. I think a lot of people involved in MMA are that, and I think we have a lot of martial artists. Both of these men were, and guys who trained and who fought, and that's what I really like personally, being among them. That we have a community that really has respect for each other, and that's what martial arts really is about. It's not about kicking someone's ass. It's not about beating someone up in a street fight. That's really kind of the opposite of what martial arts is. These guys are martial artists and businessmen combined into an entity of men that really care about our sport, and that's really important to me. So kudos to both of our guests. Really appreciate having you guys on, and we'll have you again for sure. So that's about it. We have not really a big event, I think, this weekend. We're looking for UFC 211 coming up on May 13th. Lots of great stuff. We've broken down those fights a lot. Going to be really, really some interesting matchups. JDS, Junior Dos Santos against Stipe, challenging for the title, held by Stipe. Maya against Masvidal, amazing. Jędrzejczyk against Andrade. Frankie Edgar, Yair. Some other great fights I don't know that are escaping my mind, but all respect to all the fighters. Some great action coming up. Support all the organizations, not just the UFC, you guys. VE3, other fights out there, LFA, Invicta, absolutely. You do have Bellator. You have some other fights out there where guys are fighting hard. So look for some regional shows in your area. Go out and support them. They may very well be the next superstars that you can cheer for, and on the lower level, even establish a relationship, getting ringside seats at an affordable price, possibly. So that's about it, I think, for now. Hope you enjoy the show. We're going to have a really good show. We are looking at, and we have it set, although the man is busy, but we have coming up next week from the UFC, longtime welterweight contender, super popular and exciting guy, Ben Killa B. Saunders. We are very much looking forward to having him on. We have another guest we're looking for too, but that's yet undetermined. Super, super excited, though, to have the Killa B himself, Ben Saunders. So don't miss it. MMA Power Hour with Colin Crandall. Same bat time, same bat channel, as the old Batman would say. We're coming at you. And until then, take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Be good. And thank you so much. This has been the MMA Power Hour. I'm Colin Crandall, and I'm tapping out.
So, wow! Coming out of nowhere with a spinning heel kick. Knockout.
This is Colin Crandall from iFluxy Studios bringing you the MMA Power Hour.
Against Wonderboy. I don't know why people
We'll be talking about everything MMA, recapping most recent fights, breaking down what happened, and especially going over the most exciting upcoming fights, looking at the matchups, breaking down analysis, even predictions, betting advice, all kinds of great things that we will be presenting to you here from super fans, knowledgeable people like myself who train and love MMA. So go to iFluxy.com and tune in for your weekly MMA action on the MMA Power Hour every Wednesday at 8.
It would be good, but Tyron Woodley is a badass fighter. Anyone that doesn't think so, go ahead and tell him to his face, because I ain't going to be doing that for sure, and neither are you.
Let me see. I haven't seen any of this footage that we just recorded. I'm excited to see it.